Albert Einstein said, "Don't think about why you question, simply don't stop questioning." Welcome to Curated Questions. I am your host, Ken Woodward. And these questions are not mathematical equations, but rather a resource to encounter personal reflection and growth. As Tupac Shakur stated, even the genius asks questions. Now, let's engage the questioning community. Greetings. Ken Woodward here. Welcome back to Curated Questions. Together, we engage inquisitive humans about how they use questions to navigate and make sense of our world. I'm a fellow traveler and pilgrim on this journey, and I'm glad you are here. Today's conversation is with Mr. Jimmy D. Smith. Smith is currently serving in 2 Chief Executive Officer roles. In April 2023, Smith started Smith Advisory Consulting after retiring as a member of the Senior Executive Service after 32 years at the Department of the Navy. A year ago, Smith joined Pacific Engineering Incorporated, a Nebraska composite material design and manufacturing company. In 2019, Smith served as the Small Business Director for the Department of the Navy. There, he was the Chief Advisor to the Secretary of the Navy on all small business matters. Smith oversaw small business acquisition policy, strengthened government and private sector partnerships, and facilitated opportunities to leverage small businesses as a strategic advantage for the benefit of the warfighter. In 2017, Smith served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Expeditionary Programs and Logistics Management, delivering on urgent warfighter needs and overseeing acquisition logistics policy. In 2013, Smith served as the Director for Integrated Nuclear Weapons Safety and Security within the U.S. Navy's Strategic Systems Programs. He was charged with the safekeeping of nearly 70% of the nation's nuclear arsenal. Smith has held other notable positions for both the Ohio Class Guided Missile Submarine, or SSGN program, and the Virginia Class Submarine Program. Smith received a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from Tuskegee University. He has completed extensive graduate-level studies and possesses 4 executive leadership certificates. Smith has championed science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM, programs for grade school students and is a strong advocate for furthering the academic pursuits of college students through scholarships and student employment opportunities. Jimmy, welcome to Curated Questions.
Ken, thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation to be here.
Absolutely. So before we dive into the normal round of questions, I got to say that being in D.C., that one resume bullet of being in charge of the safekeeping of nearly 70% of the nation's nuclear arsenal, I'm thinking that if you're in a bar on Capitol Hill and you throw that out, everybody else is like, oh, I'm a staffer, I'm this. You're like, boom. Let me tell you this. It must have been some fun to be able to say something like that.
Absolutely. And you actually didn't say too much about it because of the nature of the business.
Sure.
But being responsible for 70% of this nation's nuclear arsenal and keeping it safe and secure from bad things happening to it, be it external or internal threats, and closing in on every vulnerability that you can potentially conceive of. I think I lost my hair in that job, to tell you the truth. I actually lost it long before that, but it wouldn't grow back after that.
There was no way it was coming back during that. Yes.
Absolutely right. But it was a pretty important job. And I love the fact that you work an opportunity and the rest of America, the rest of the world, they know nothing about it. And trust me, if there was ever an incident or an accident that occurred in my world, the world would know about it. So
absolutely.
To be able to get through those opportunities successfully and do what needs to be done to meet the mission and satisfy the warfighter's need for capability on demand, that's what it was all about. And I truly, thoroughly enjoyed that opportunity and would actually go back and do it all over again if they gave me the chance.
That speaks volume for the opportunity, that's for sure, and the things you were dealing with.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's amazing. Well, since we talk about questions here, when did you first understand the power of questions?
I will tell you, I first understood the power of questions when I was 14 years old. My neighbor from across the street, he was a retired Air Force colonel, and I was outside in my parents' driveway shooting basketball like normal kids at that age do. And he walked across the street to me and he said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I looked at Mr. Drago and I was like, I want to be a pilot. And he was like, really? And I was like, yes, sir. I'm going to be a pilot when I get older, when I go to college, go into the Air Force, and I'm going to fly planes, fly jets. And he said, well, you don't have to wait till you go to college and go to the Air Force. He said, my wife and I are certified flight instructors. We can teach you how to fly now. And I
Wow.
said, get out of here, Mr. Drago. You know, I'm 14 years old. What do you mean you can teach me how to fly? He was like, no, really. If you want to learn how to fly, Edna and I can teach you how to fly. Go ask your dad. And no kidding, I ran in the house. I literally burned the rubber off of my shoes, running in the
Wow.
house to go ask my dad, could Mr. Drago teach me how to fly?
Amazing.
And my dad was saying, you know, Mr. Drago can't teach you how to fly. Get out of here. What are you talking about? And I told him to come down to the door. Mr. Drago was standing right there. And they had a man-to-man conversation. They dismissed me from it. And after my mom got home later on, they had a conversation with her. And then I was given the green light to learn not only the book version of flying, but also take flight training at 14 years old.
That's
And
amazing.
that one question, what do you want to be when you grow up? I already knew the answer to the question, and no one had ever asked it of me before. But I knew what I wanted to be. And to go back a little bit further in time, on my first flight as a little kid, I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, Eastern Airlines, which doesn't exist now
Yeah.
for those young folks that are out there. That was my first plane ride with my parents. And Eastern Airlines had a tradition of when the kids would come on board, the pilots would have them come to the cockpit, pin the little wings on,
Yeah.
and then send you back to your seat. Well, the pilot that let me come up to the front of the plane actually let me sit in his chair, and he let me pull the throttle back while we were at the gate. And, you know,
Wow.
good thing the parking brake was on.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah. Technicalities. Yes.
Yeah, but I watched all of the gauges light up, and I felt the power of that machine. And it just
Wow.
blew my mind to be able to go do something like that. And then as some other little kids turn to go sit in a chair, and I went back to my seat. But throughout that entire flight, I was waiting for the pilot to come back to the back of the plane and get me so that I could continue flying. You know, that was my job now. I was
You
supposed
got
to
the
fly.
wings. Come on.
I got my wings. Let's go. So the passion for something started at a very young age. I knew what I wanted to do, and someone asked me the question, and that literally propelled me all the way through life, was learning how to take opportunities, take what people offer you, give back to others. That's what it's been about my whole career. And it literally started with Mr. Drago walking across the street, asking me what I wanted to do when I grew up.
That is powerful on both sides of that question, both the willingness for him to ask you that question and to be able to back up
Absolutely.
when you answered something that was within his realm of being able to help you or to be able to make that
Absolutely.
dream come true, and the follow through on it. There's just a lot of commitment
Absolutely.
To him being able to follow through. It's just a beautiful story. And then
Absolutely.
obviously on your side, you having that answer you already knew it.
I already knew the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was history from that moment on. It was like, let's go do what you want to do. And no kidding, he and his wife would drive me to the class that they would teach that was in Laurel, Maryland, about a 30-minute ride away from my parents' house. They would drive me to the class that they were teaching, teach the class, and then on the way back from the class, all of the questions that I had about what I was learning in the class would come out in the car ride back. Because at 14, I'm learning trigonometry and algebra long before I learned it in school. I'm learning in this class with grown-ups learning how to fly. So weight, balance, moment, wind, calculations, directions, all of these things, algebra, trigonometry, like I mentioned, all of that's coming at me in something outside of going to school. So I had questions. I had plenty of questions. Tell me why this is that way. And they were very engaging all the way through. They never allowed me to go wanting for an answer. Let's put it that way. They never allowed And
Mm.
they were of the grandparents' generation to me when I was growing up. We left my grandparents on both sides of the family in Florida when I was 10 and moved up. And literally, I had surrogate grandparents living right across the street from me that then taught me how to fly.
This just brings up a beautiful sense of community and that extended family that you were blessed with that just lived across the street.
Absolutely.
It seems like that was a foundational moment for
Yes.
you in taking advantage of the opportunities and the connections and the relationships that you were presented with.
Absolutely correct. And the opportunity to be bold and step forward to do something. That's what it taught me. It was like, you can be bold. Nothing can keep you away from what you want to do. Just be bold enough to go after it. And my definition of bold isn't reckless. It's be bold to take the opportunity to not miss the opportunity.
Okay.
Seize the moment. Seize the moment and make the best of it and give it your all. And I literally had a blast. I started Brown School at 14. I soloed at 15. I got my pilot's license on my 16th birthday. 3 days later, I went and got my driver's license so I could actually drive myself to the airport to go flying by myself. But for a full year and a half, I was flying an airplane and didn't have a driver's license to drive a car. And so this was right when cell phones were coming out, and they were the big giant suitcase size cell phones, and I didn't have one, and my parents didn't have one. But the way that I let them know that I was done flying was to fly over the house, and I would do figure eights over the house, and mom or dad would come out in the front yard. They'd wave. I waved the wings back. That was the signal. I'm ready to come home. Come get me from the airport.
Wow.
So, and to look back and be able to do that at 15 years old, and your parents are giving you that confidence that you can do anything. And we're going to drop you off at the airport. You go flying. You come back and let us know when you're ready by flying over the house, and we'll come back and get you. It took some guts on my parents' part to even allow this to occur, because they're all in the medical business and medical backgrounds. I'm the only one that broke out as an engineer and the whole pilot thing. So it was areas that they had no comprehension of, and I just wanted to go do it. And they were like, okay, let him go.
Wow. That truly is a remarkable story.
Yeah, I've had a blast. I've had some wonderful opportunities over the course of my life. And that mentoring that I received from Mr. Dragoo and Miss Dragoo just propelled me all the way through life. I want to give of myself to help others. And that's what I've truly done. And I'll tell you another story later if it comes up about what we did in the submarine community when after graduating from college and working for the Naval Sea Systems Command. I've got another story there where another great individual came into my life, and he basically said, let's go do something to make you better at leading for the future. And it was just another seize the moment, go for it, and don't look back.
Well, okay. My plan for the conversation was to absolutely get to coaching, mentoring, and the rest. Excellent. But in the effort of seizing the moment, let's dive in and let's have that conversation. I know that from people that I've talked to, from what I've witnessed being at Naval Sea Systems Command over the years, you have an absolute amazing reputation for investing in people. And so I know that you didn't stumble into that. No. So I know that you have invested in it. So let me set up some of this conversation with the question of, Jimmy, can you tell me how your mentoring started? What inspired that? So we know the beginning, the 14-year-old story, but can you fill in this amazing story?
Outstanding, kid. That's a great question. I'd love to answer that. So upon graduation from college, I started working for the Naval Sea Systems Command, and they hired 25 engineers in training straight out of college to be that next wave of new talent coming in to sustain the technical workforce. But 1 year after we started, the end of the Cold War occurred. The
Mm,
Berlin Wall came down. Naval Sea Systems Command said, you know what? We now have a managing the payroll problem because we can't afford to keep all these people around because the
mm,
defense budget is drawing down. So the first thing they did was let go 25 brand new engineers. And I was one of them. They gave us 60 days to get out and go find other things to do. And it could be somewhere else in the Navy, somewhere else in the Department of Defense, or you can go on be an industry partner, being a contractor. And this was a Commander Paul Sullivan at the time. And this is the very concept phases of the Virginia Class Submarine Program. It's not even a program yet. In April of 1992, he interviewed three of those engineers in training and said, I need one to be my only subordinate working in this brand new program. And he interviewed three. He picked me at the end of the day and to be his direct subordinate. And I was grateful to be saved from being let go
mhm,
and now working in PEO submarines, Program Executive Officer submarines, and working for this Commander Sullivan. And being a young 22-year-old, 23-year-old at the time, you stay out late, you hang out late, you come to work late, all of those things. And it didn't take too long before Commander Sullivan said, hey, I want to teach you everything there is to know about submarines. I need you to change your work hours. And I was like, okay, well, what are you going to teach me about submarines? He said, I am literally going to teach you everything there is to know about submarines, but you need to get here at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was like, sir, I don't get here till like 8:30, 9 o'clock on a good day. And he said, I've paid special attention to that. And now your workday starts at 6 a.m. so we can do School of the Boat. And
Wow.
School of the Boat is when you learn all of those 156 systems and major components that make up a submarine. I had to know them inside and out from an engineering drawing level perspective and be able to sketch and draw every single system from a diagram standpoint. Every pipe, every motor, every accumulator, every valve, everything that makes up that system,
Mm,
he taught me. And I would have to give him those drawings back from memory on a pretty frequent basis, be it the trim and drain system, the oil system, the air system, you name it. He taught me everything there is to know. And it was outside of work hours that he was doing this with me. And
wow.
literally, my desk butted up to his desk in his office. He would write upside down so that he wouldn't have to get up and come to my side of the desk, or I get up and go to his side of the desk. He
Wow.
would to teach me and show me what I was looking at and explain things to me. He would do this in an upside down fashion every day. So if we weren't traveling, we were in the office every morning, 6 o'clock, for an hour and a half doing School of the Boat. And literally he could quiz me at any time over the course of the day. Jimmy, get up on the whiteboard and draw the trim and drain system for the 688 class submarine. I'm like, sir, you just asked me to do something on this project over here. And he said, no, time to take a break. Get up and draw the diagram. And I would get up
Wow.
on, draw the diagram. 45 minutes later, I'm done with the diagram. And then he said, yeah, it looks about right. And then he would race the board. Let's do another one.
Wow.
Now, along this path of that investment that he's making in me, he decided to up the game on me one day. He said, hey, your first submarine ride is in 3 days out of Norfolk. Take off a couple of days to get ready for your trip. And here's some do's and don'ts of submarine and everything. And I'm like, wait, what's this riding submarine thing you're talking about? And he said, yeah, you're riding submarines. And that's another way to show people you know what you're doing and get that on hand, hands-on experience for working
Right.
with these things. And I was like, sir, I wear a suit to work every day. I don't wear overalls and jeans. He said, don't wear a suit on board the submarine. It's
You know.
leaving in 3 days and you're going to be on. And no kidding, he gave me a sea bag that's, so big, like a good sized handbag is what he gave me. And he said, everything you need to take needs to fit in this sea bag. And I was like, okay, how long am I going for? He said, well, they won't tell me because it's a classified mission. So just take the sea bag and everything you need needs to be in there. So how do you pack for an undetermined end of a trip?
Nice.
So I did the nominal 3 to 5 days worth of packing, everything I can get into this sea bag. And fast forward, went to Norfolk, got on board the submarine. Once the hatch closed and we're pulling away from the pier, I asked one of the sailors, hey, how long are we going to be gone for? And they said 3.5 weeks. I was a little short, kid. And I had some very wonderful thoughts of Commander Sullivan at that time also. What has he done to me?
Yeah, I am kind of surprised. He has to have been a remarkable man in your life for you to forgive or overlook some of these elements of this relationship that you've had going on. But
yes,
yeah.
He is absolutely remarkable. And the other part of that trip was you're on board the submarine. 3.5 weeks later, I show back up at a pier. It's not the same pier that I left from that my car was parked at. I'm now in New London, Connecticut instead of Norfolk. And it's like, okay, see you later, sir. And I'm like, how do I get back to my car? So I called him up and he was like, hey, you made it back. Congratulations. I said, how do I get to my car? He said, well, use your credit card, go get a plane, go to Norfolk, then drive back home. Okay, got it. See you in a few days. I said, did you just want the office to yourself? Because he and I shared the office. He got rid of me for about a month here. But I tell you, those sailors put me through my paces. They treated me just like a sailor trying to qualify on board submarines. Touching every system, standing the watch, watching maintenance. If something breaks, being there to help support fixing it. And I did that 14 different times on different classes of submarines. And it was all based on him sending me out to sea to go gain more experience, more operational knowledge about how these things work, operate, and how you maintain them, and what the sailors no kidding go through. So just again, a civilian to go off and do this was absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
And he paved the way through his fleet contacts to make sure that every time I was getting off of a submarine, I was scared that he had already set up another get on the next submarine to go back somewhere else. But absolutely had a blast riding submarines and gaining that operational knowledge. And it paid so many dividends when I ultimately became the test and evaluation manager for the Virginia Class Submarine Program and the construction manager for the program. And as we were designing this thing, I'm the youngest person in the room, but I've got the most operational experience from the engineers being in the audience.
Absolutely.
Regarding, well, we shouldn't put that valve there because the sailor's going to burn his arm on it when he reaches over the steam pipe to turn that valve. And literally, I have burns from doing exactly that on the existing submarines where, why did an engineer put that valve there? And I'm preventing those things from occurring on the Virginia Class Submarine Program because I've been to sea and I've seen these things done. And being able to share that with folks who didn't know any better, the pipe needs a valve. Why do I care where you put it? Well, let me tell you why you care where you put it, because it matters from an ergonomic standpoint when people have to operate them in that nature. So you don't get it until you get it. And I've got scars to prove. But literally, out of my 32-year Navy career, that once Commander Sullivan retired as a 3-star admiral, Vice Admiral, Admiral Sullivan, he has mentored me my entire work-related life. And even to this day, I can text him, I can call him, hey, I'm thinking about doing something crazy. What do you think? No, you're not. It's the response. Here's what I got for you in mind to go off and do something else that he's conceived. But literally, this man has been there throughout my career. And the only payback he said to me at his retirement ceremony was, do what I did for you for 50 people. And I was like, 50? Okay. I have far exceeded 50. Far exceeded 50.
Yeah.
But being able to give of yourself to others to help them achieve their goals and their dreams, that's what he taught me. And he instilled in me. And literally, when he was the commanding officer of Naval Sea Systems Command, so an 80,000 person organization, if I ever wanted to just go over and see him, he would make the time, stop a meeting to allow me to come in and ask whatever questions I had or seek whatever guidance I was seeking, and then he'd get on with the rest of his day. And it drove the admin staff crazy because Jimmy Smith had a carte blanche ticket to come in and talk to the 3-star anytime he wanted to, regardless of his schedule.
I'm thinking that they would try to become friends with you just to keep you away. They would say, all right,
Absolutely.
we will bring you flowers. We will bring you chocolates. Just please don't come during this particular week. Just stay away. We will set up
Absolutely.
submarine trips for you just to stay away.
Absolutely. But I mean, you don't abuse the help that you're getting and the guidance that you're getting, but when you need it, you need it. And
Right.
he knew that I wouldn't bother him if I didn't need to bother him.
Sure.
Was basically the approach he took for everything. So, and then just like you have with the podcast here, it's like, so what's the question? And it needs to be a thoughtful question that's coming out, and you've thought through the potential answers and the potential opportunities that can come from it. And now I need adult supervision to kind of help make sure I'm steering this thing in the right way. That's what I needed him for. It was that next level of questioning beyond what I thought I was capable of that he could add to what I needed to do next. And it's just a beautiful thing. I'm like, how did he know to ask me that question?
Right.
But you pick up on nuggets. You know what? Next time, I'm not going to come back and ask him that question because I'm going to ask the question that he just shared with me to go move something further down the path, so I don't have to bug him. So, but you never truly cut the strings, though. It's been over 32 years now. I've never cut the strings.
Well, it has also paid off for you, right? It just, that relationship has been
Sure.
So maybe what we'll do is let's use this relationship as a through line for the rest of our conversation, and we'll keep coming back to it. So since we were just talking about those questions that he would ask you, so what was your process? You can take any particular example that you'd like,
Right.
and say, how would you interrogate this particular example that you choose? How would you interrogate that with questions? And it may have changed over time.
Sure.
What kind of questions would you ask of yourself to get through that? And then what were some expanding questions that the Admiral asked you? Can you walk us through one of those, maybe coaching sessions or mentoring sessions?
Absolutely. And there are so many that come to mind right off the bat here. Let's get you a good one. But typically, and the way that I was brought up in the submarine community, don't ask the question that you don't know the answer to, was the general philosophy. Because how do you know that they're telling you the truth or not, or what you need to hear, if you haven't gone down the path of exploring the potential answers that you could get? So ask the question, but understand what the answers are in advance that you're probably going to get back. And then you get into the thoughtful follow-up questions. That's really how it all works at the end of the day. Because now someone may give you an answer that you truly didn't see coming, that came in from left field. Okay, for those are special. But technical issues, programmatic issues, challenges that you face at work, for the most part, I can conceive of what the answers are going to be, and can I deal with each one if that's what comes back as an answer to my response? And can I ask the next level of depth kind of question? That's really how I've learned to get into it. And another thing that was brought into my life by another supervisor, Jack Evans, we were having a technical debate. Me and one of my colleagues were having a technical debate, and Jack Evans was the deciding authority over which way we would go. And I stated what my point was. My colleague stated what his point was. And then Jack started asking that colleague of mine more in-depth questions. And I was like, he's going to go with this guy's option instead of mine, because he's burrowing in on asking him questions. And then he got to the point that the colleague didn't know the answer to one of the questions. And he said, Jimmy, and going with your option. I'm like, what just happened?
Wow.
You went several layers deep with him on questioning, and you didn't with me, but you're going with my option. So we walked away. I'm happy because I won the argument, right? But I circled back 2 minutes later to Jack and I was like, hey, tell me what just happened there. He was like,
Hmm.
what do you mean? We're going with your option. I said, yeah, but how did you get to that point? Because you were asking him more and more in depth questions and you weren't asking me questions. He said, I could tell from his body language that he really wasn't as forthright as he needed to be. So I wanted to get him to a point that he had to stop with his
Hmm.
approach because he really didn't know what he was talking about, or it was coming off as a false response. And I'm like, what? I said, how'd you do?
Wow.
He said, I was reading his body language. He wasn't looking at me when he was answering my question. He was looking at his shoes. I'm like, so you're reading people's body language when they're responding to your questions? He's like, yeah. And when you don't give me that right nonverbal response, I want to ask more questions to get you to the point
Hmm.
that you stop giving me the false answer or something that you truly don't believe in or something that you may be ashamed of. Because if you're looking at your shoes when you're answering somebody's question, you're ashamed of what you're saying or you maybe not telling the truth. So I took
Hmm.
that and I walked away and I'm like, Jack's crazy. Jack's crazy. But I'm like, wait a second. You have many ways to communicate with people. And this nonverbal thing that he picked up on, that he shared with me, I'm like, I got to use that. So when you get responses back to questions, are you getting someone looking in your eye? Are they doing the eyes up and to the right? Because that's a thoughtful response if you look up and to the right. If you're looking to the left and down at your shoes, you're making it up or you're maybe not telling me the whole truth at that point. So
Hmm.
rolling in these different attributes of how do you know when you need to keep asking questions? That's what it brought to me. Sully would give me the do I know what I'm talking about response. And then he would dig a little deeper to make sure I really knew the second order, third order of what I was talking about. Jack brought in the compliment of, can you believe what you're being told?
Hmm. Right.
So and again, you pick up the nuggets from people and you take them with you and you incorporate them into how you operate. And literally, and this was a few years ago, there was a show called Lie to Me on, and this guy, it was about a guy who could actually read people's body language when they were responding to questions. And I was like, that's what Jack does.
Looking for those same tells. Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
the same tells in their non-voluntary responses that your body does, and you have to on purpose turn them off if you're trying to get away with covering them up. But most people don't know that they should cover up the nonverbal
Right.
body language responses because you just told me something, but your mouth said something different. And being able to roll that into your repertoire is another get to the right answer. And, going back to that nuclear weapons safety and security job, we did investigations all the time about potential things or bad things that could have happened. Okay, now I need to ask questions. How did you get here? And then
Hmm.
when people start wandering away with their eyes or looking at the shoes, that's when you need to start burrowing in on, okay, I think I found where the problem is.
Wow. Doing investigations and, to your point, having to really understand what happened or
Yeah,
what potentially could have happened.
could have happened. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
And getting to that truth, and as embarrassing as it may be, I can only have the truth to move forward. To give me something that's not true makes me go down a path that I'm going to run into. And I'm like, wait, how did I get here? Because this isn't right. Back up. Where did it go wrong? And then go back down that fork in the road where you need to be. But you have to, along with asking the right questions, you got to be prepared with the responses you get, verbal and nonverbal responses.
As you say, you need to be prepared. Can you say a little bit more?
Well, it's because you're ultimately, in most cases, I'm ultimately responsible for something. You need to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And taking in all the right variables, all the right attributes to make the right decision, this is a part of that calculus. Is did they do what they were supposed to do when they gave me that response? Did they behave the way I thought they were going to behave? Is the answer a logical, thoughtful answer? Because I'm technically deep, but does it make sense for someone to be able to get there from where they were? You got to drain the swamp in many different areas instead of just one. You got to train it in several areas and see if you still come out with, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
or I don't feel bad about what I just was told or what I think the outcome could have been, should have been.
So do you have any particular processes or favorite questions that you have used in relation to making decisions and helping to kind of burrow in a little bit?
Absolutely. And again, it's doing the homework before somebody presents the paper to you that I've read your paper. Send me your paper before you come in and present it to me. So I can go read up on it. I can do my own research behind what you told me and make sure that I agree with your assumptions and your conclusions. But let's have an engaging discussion about tell me why you believe this is right. And then play devil's advocate from time to time. So what if this was the case? Would that answer still come out to be what you think it should be? Or throw opportunities in there for them to defend. So it's like going to court. You got to defend your case,
Yep.
not just present it. You got to defend it, and making sure people are confident within themselves to represent that output that they're responsible for. So everybody's responsible. Everybody's technically competent. Prove to me that you exercise those things within yourself when you got to this conclusion that you got to. So, and it's that trust but verify.
Okay. Right.
It's really trust but verify. And it's not that I'm questioning you. Well, I really am.
Mm-hmm.
But I need to trust and verify. And another thing that I was taught working in this particular community, this isn't personal. The questioning is not personal. And I'm not challenging where you went to school. I'm not challenging whether you got A's, B's, or C's, or D's on your report card. I'm challenging whether you believe what you're presenting. And if I give you something from left field, something from right field, can you defend your case even with those things coming at you? Did you think about this? Did you think about that? Or I have experience where something like this went wrong in the past. Tell me how you would prevent something bad from occurring if this showed up in your lap. And if they can walk through a scenario thoughtfully, logically, you leave them alone. And typically that's how I've been treated my whole career is if you can survive the questions, you get left alone. If you don't prepare in advance for what you could potentially be asked, it's going to be a long day. And you'll be doing push-ups in front of everybody. So I don't like doing push-ups in front of everybody. I'll do them on my own time, away from everybody.
And to your point on the community being focused on what is the true circumstance, whether you're presenting the case or not. In the end state, submarines, you've got to have the same amount of surfaces as you have the same amount of dives.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Because lots of lives are on the line.
Absolutely.
And so it is critical that, what is the right answer? What is true? That is what's most important.
Absolutely.
The opportunity to have worked in many of these same organizations, it's been my experience is that it doesn't get to be personal, and
it's not personal.
It's been really professional, and it's been a great experience.
If we can go off and do this safely and bring everybody back to their families, we win. And for someone to hold back information or not tell you the whole truth, that's not contributing to us winning. And someone could potentially get hurt, like you mentioned, or die, or a lot of people die.
Right.
And trust me, I don't ever want that on my head. And you protect against the bad thing that could occur And probably when that came to light most in my life was being a Virginia Class construction manager. You actually have to sign certification documentation saying, I believe this submarine is safe for the crew, safe for the ship, and safe to be operated throughout the entire operational parameters
Mm.
that it was designed for. And I no kidding had about 12 notebooks of the shipbuilder didn't build it quite right. That thing is 3 inches too short. That thing is like 4 pounds too heavy. And all of this information in aggregate is no big deal. But if something bad happened with that, could that cascade to that? Could
Right.
that cascade to that? I literally had to do an aggregate review to prove to myself before I signed that certification documentation that there's not 2 or 3 things that could happen in sequence with one another that would go bad and would cause a catastrophic loss of the ship or life. And for 3 days, locked myself away reviewing if that broke and that broke and that broke, do we lose lives? Do we lose the ship? No. Okay. Does that, and that, and that? No. Does this, and this? No. And the confidence to sign that piece of paper saying you can take the ship to sea, have a good ride. And typically, back to history or tradition of how you do it all, the construction manager goes to sea the first time the submarine goes to sea. So
You're motivated.
you're
Very
absolutely
motivated.
motivated. And if you do something wrong, trust me, you'll figure it out real quick.
You will be there. All hands
You'll
on deck. Yes, your hands are on the deck. Yes.
absolutely right.
Yes. Wow. Wow.
So responsibility being imparted upon you should never be taken lightly, and never feel that you can't ask questions to get to a level of comfort and confidence that you can make a decision and move forward with an opportunity to excel, and no one gets hurt and everybody comes back.
Mm.
That's what you want.
Did you ever struggle with the notion that if I ask a question, I'm going to look stupid
No.
and have to wrestle with that? Okay.
No.
Beautiful.
Never. And if you don't know, just like I was brought up, if you don't know, you don't know. And if that line of questioning gets to a point that you don't know, say, I don't know, I'll go find out. And then you go find out. But to sit there and try to ad lib or fake it, okay, I can see right. The person that's asking you the question probably knows the answer already. And now you're going to fake it in front of them. You don't want people's confidence lost in you. So don't fake it. If you don't know the answer, say you don't know, that's fine. Go get the answer. Go talk to the right people. Go read the book, whatever you need, but come back with the right answer. Don't give a made up answer, because like we said earlier, that could be cost of lives, property, and a lot more explaining if you don't tell the truth. There's a lot more explaining if you get caught not telling the truth.
Yes. So now you have significant proven technical ability. So you've got that. Yet you're very EQ conscious.
Yeah.
How does that come about?
So I have daughters. I have 3 daughters. No sons, 3 daughters. And to be conscious of what you're being asked, and in many cases, like with my daughters when they were growing up, they didn't want me to solve problems for them. But I'm like, that's what I do. I solve problems.
Right.
Like that. I just want to vent to you. I just want to talk to you. I just want you to listen. So I realized pretty early on that listening is the most important thing that you can do. Now, and I have a rule with them: if you tell me you want my help, I'm going to give you help. But until you say I need your help, I'm just listening.
Okay.
And you have different trainings that you went through to get that consciousness up, where I am listening intently to what you're saying because you came to me with something, and now I want to hear what the problem is. And you tell me that you want me to help you solve it. But just being a listener And instead of, I mean, Ken, how many times have you seen over the course of your day where someone says, "Hey, Ken, good morning, how you doing?" And they don't stick around for the "how you doing" response.
Right.
I'm like, well, if you're going to ask me, at least listen to what I have to say. So just being a listener and people feel so much better when someone's listening to them. And is that they can go off and be heard and go do what they need to do next. But just being an active listener with, hey, I heard something, or you didn't say something. That's the other thing. What
Okay.
didn't they say is as important as what they did say. And when I was expecting you to say something else. Well, I didn't want to talk about that. Okay, that's probably where the real root of the problem is, and the thing that they didn't want to talk about because that may be embarrassing, or they're just not ready to go there with you. But being able to pull those things out when you don't get what you thought you should have. Um, I watched Vice Admiral Benedict do something very similar to this when I was over at Strategic Systems Programs, where he would walk the fence line, as we call it, with the battalions that are there responsible for guarding the nuclear weapons. So we have
Okay.
mixed gender battalions, males, female, Marines, and Navy Master at Arms guarding the weapons. And he would walk the fence line and engage all levels of rank when he would go visit the two facilities that we have. And he would strike up a conversation, let's say, with a young petty officer or a young sailor. Say, hey, if you ever got into a situation where you had a concern come up like this scenario, who would you go talk to? And the response that should be the next person in the chain of command, my sergeant, my, whoever. It should be that next chief, that petty officer, somebody in the chain of command. And when he didn't get the right answer, and he asked a couple of more women, hey, if you ever got into this situation,
Mm,
who would you talk to? The general consensus was not the next person up in the food chain. He came back to the headquarters and he said, I believe we have a predator in our ranks.
wow.
And no kidding, he flushed it out just like that because he didn't get the right answer because no one was saying what they should have said. And he knew what the answer should have been.
Right.
And no kidding, there was a guy in the battalion that was behaving
Mm,
as a predator to the women in the battalion, certain ones, and not trying to get him in trouble or he's a higher rank than me, so who's going to believe me because he's above me in rank. And we flushed this guy out and got him booted out.
wow.
But again, that was going on for who knows how long. But the fact that he engaged, he actively listened, he knew what he didn't hear, and then he
Right.
came back and did something about it. And that got rid of a problem. So being able to engage at that level where I'm just not just taking input and storing it. I got to take it and I got to do something with it. Or bad things continue to happen. So actively listening and then actively pursuing a solution to problems that you believe are there. That's what it's all about.
Very good. Well, appreciate that example as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's a
Um,
real life example too. And we know Kenny got that guy fired. He's gone. Did not deserve to be in the ranks.
yeah. Well, how have you used questions to inspire the organizations that you've been with or
Yeah.
that you've led?
Sure. That's also another opportunity to get people to stand up on their own. Tell me ways to improve the organization because I don't have my finger on every pulse in this organization. I don't know the answers to everything. Stop expecting me to have the answers to everything.
Mm,
You lead from where you are and solicit input and then take the next step of not just hearing it, but now we're going to resource what you said needs to be done to make the organization better. We're going to go resource, go make it happen because let's go make it better instead of because it's going to continue to get worse if we don't do what you said. It's going to help improve the organization. It's because you heard me, you didn't do anything about it, so you just wasted my time.
yeah.
So be ready to follow up. And again, it's one of those things where be careful of the question you ask because you're going to get a response and you need to do something with it. So asking what can we do to make the organization better? Hey, everybody cheers. But if you don't resource what you hear or put it in some priority order for people to go work them off, and I'll take these three, somebody else will take those four, and then we'll report back and we'll tell everybody what we're doing to close in on the things that they said could help and fix the organization. But again, you can't be expected to have every answer to every question. There's value added at all levels of the food chain. Give people a chance to lead where they are and bring about ideas that they think will help improve the organization. And trust me, everybody who works in an organization has an opinion about how to make it better.
Right. Mm.
And it's just a matter of asking, hey, let's set up teams, let's set up, different focus groups or something like that. But
Right.
be ready to do something with it after you start asking questions or you get the responses. And that's some of the things that I've had problems with, like those surveys that would come out about the culture and temperature of the organization. It's a data point in time, but who's doing anything about it? We just made all of these lists of complaints, and it's anonymous when I responded, but who's doing anything with what you bring forward is where questioning and asking is good, but follow up to close in on those items are even better. So don't ask a question you aren't ready to deal with. It's what this is all about.
That's a great point, because to open up the door through questions and set the expectation
Absolutely.
that we're going to work on this and then do nothing is not going to help the organization. That's going to be exceedingly painful and then erode trust.
You eroded trust. We told them that this was a problem. They're doing nothing about it. So they must be okay with this thing being the way it is. So guess what? Next time you ask me, I'm not going to answer your question, or I'm not going to give you input, because why bother? I'm working here. But you have to value everyone around you. And no kidding, back to that same Team Submarine organization, we had admirals that were leaders in the organization. When you would come together in a meeting, be it programmatic or technical meeting, they would literally go around the room before we closed the meeting out to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to speak their piece if they wanted to speak their piece. Not just the people at the table, the second row, the third row in the room. They would literally go around the room, point at every single person. Do you have anything to add? Do you have anything to add? Do you have anything to add? And if you did, okay, there's your time to jump in before we close the meeting out to tell the leader, the boss, the admiral, the SES, whoever it would happen to be, here's what's on my mind, or here's what I have an issue with what just happened. And then, okay, let's stop. Let's dwell on this for a second. Somebody, let's put this issue to bed, or let's follow up on it later. But get everybody's input, even those shy ones. And back to, kid, I got one for you. Back to reading people's body language again.
Yes.
I'm in one of these meetings where we're soliciting everybody's input, and there was a young lady sitting at the table with her arms crossed. Okay. From a body language standpoint, that means she's closed off, she's not contributing, she probably doesn't want to be there. And at the end of the meeting, I'm asking everybody, do they have anything? Do they have anything? And everybody went around the room, nobody had anything. And after the meeting closed out, everybody dispersed. I went to her cube, to her office space. And I said, hey, can we talk for a second? And she was like, sure. I said, well, come on, let's go to my office. Let's talk. And on the way walking to my office, we're walking down the hallway together and not looking at each other, no eye contact. But I said, hey, when you were in that last meeting, you seemed pretty closed off to wanting to contribute. Your arms were crossed. You were giving me very, very standoffish signals during the course of the meeting. And she was like, oh, I was just cold. And I was like, no, not temperature. What's going on? And she said, well, and it was a family issue that was really what was on her mind at the time. She couldn't think about the work thing we were doing because she was dealing with family issues. And I said, all right, do me a favor. Go take care of your family. Get out, leave, go for the day. Take care of your family. Let me know where you need me to help if that's something that you want. But to be here and not be here, that's not good for anybody.
Mm.
And coming just to get a paycheck or to push the time clock that you're here when you really got your mind on other things, go help family. And she said, no one cared. I'm like, well, are you talking to anybody? Like, no. Okay, well, I picked up on the fact that she's not talking. You start
Right.
a line of questioning, and it starts to unravel and people start to open up. But if no one engages the other one from an active listening standpoint, or just the empathy to want to know more about what you may be going through, or why
Yeah.
are you being a certain way, and sticking around for the answer. And then
Key
doing
point there.
something
Yes.
about
Yes.
it.
Right.
Yeah. And then doing something about it. So if you're going to ask the question, be ready to do something with it once you hear the response. Or if you don't hear a response, continue to engage.
Gotcha. Still an answer if there's no response, no verbal
Absolutely.
response. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard you say we can't move forward without friction.
Yeah.
How do you use friction strategically?
Sure. It goes back to that don't take it personal comment that was
Okay.
made earlier, where none of this is personal. I'm not attacking you. I'm not insinuating something about you that no one, that we shouldn't be doing in a professional setting. But in order to move forward, friction is absolutely required. The tires on your car have to have friction in order to move it forward. So something's got to rub against something else in order to move forward. And challenging the way people think, challenging the assumptions for how you got here and what got you to this conclusion. That's where the friction comes in, is that challenge. And it's not an attack, it's just a challenge. And accept the challenge, defend the challenge, and then let's move on. Convince me that you know how to work through it in that fashion. But that's really what it's about. You shouldn't feel like someone's attacking you because they didn't automatically adopt what you were saying as the gospel, as the given truth that fell out of the sky. No, I need to understand first. And don't take my understanding as a slight to something you offered as an opportunity for us to follow. So a little friction, a lot of friction. It doesn't matter. Moving forward will make it better. Because what if you didn't think about the three things that I got tucked away in my question, and that thing wouldn't be as good, or the end product won't achieve the things that we're trying to achieve if I didn't bring those things up to create the friction. A little heat goes a long way. And I'm more confident with your ability to do something if you survive the friction. If you can say, you know what, it's not personal first, get that, say that should be your automatic response when someone asks you a question is, hey, this probably isn't personal, but they're probably just seeking to understand. And then you put your guard down, the reflector shields turn off. Now let's get into the meat of the question. But don't feel like no one should challenge what you're offering, because I want to make it better if I can. And don't think that you got the market cornered on making it better. Be open to accepting other people's input to make it better.
So what have you done to build cultures or support that mindset?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, I'm starting the new job and somebody's coming at me or feeling the friction and such.
Sure.
But to build a ecosystem
Absolutely.
where that is expected, encouraged, and this means health, takes work, because we generally just want happy-go-lucky dancing through, daisies and such. So, but that's also not what's required in the circumstances you've been. Yes.
That's right. It's not required to do the job. but paying attention to what you're experiencing, maybe what you're not experiencing, because I've worked at a number of organizations. Take the Naval Sea System Command. That was a very family oriented, kind of big organization. Everybody kind of liked each other, got along well. And then when I went over to Strategic Systems Program, that was a pure engineering discipline command. There was no people comfort, creature comforts whatsoever in that organization. And having left NAVC with, every month in the United States, you celebrate some diversity groups contribution to being here, right?
Yep.
So I showed up over at SSP and I'm like, hey, this was December. And I said, hey, Admiral Benedict, what do you guys do to support Martin Luther King Day in January, Black History Month in February, Women's History Month? I said, what does SSP do in that regard? Because since I've been here, I don't see much of anything outside of people just getting work done. And he was like, we don't do that. We get work done. And I was like, well, in January, we're going to do something for Martin Luther King Day. We're going to have a speaker come in, speak. We're going to bring food. He said, you know what? I doubt if anybody shows up. I was like, really? Typically, food is the draw for anybody.
Yeah. Somebody's coming for at least free food, if nothing else. Right.
and no kidding, we had the event. He came, the entire leadership came, the speaker came. The organization turned out in droves. And it was like, we don't typically do this. And when you get an opportunity for somebody to come in from the outside, and it was just over the lunch hour. It wasn't a whole day thing, this, that, and that. And then, next month we got something else planned. You leave that teaser out there. Next month we got something else planned. And for all of the different diversity groups that came along, everybody brings their own kind of food and their own kind of culture and their own kind of contributions to what they do outside of work. And you bring it into the office. And people are like, I never knew this about you. Okay, well, no one bothered to ask. No one bothered to care. And now it was brought in to change the culture. They're like, let's just be with each other instead of always nuking out problems was what I brought in. And he was like, you know what? This is a good idea. And again, I saw it done well in one organization and I wondered why it wasn't being done there. And it wasn't because they were bad people or they didn't care. It's just that it had never been introduced here. Okay, I'll introduce it. And then make it a part of the culture. And then, now you celebrate people's farewells and comings and goings. You make it. I got to deal with folks, 8 to 10, 12 hours a day. And we might as well like each other or share common interests, or let me show you my differences. And, it didn't hurt.
Right. You
got deep food. So, but I will tell you, Asian Pacific Islander Month was the best because we had food coming in from all over the place. And it was, I've never tried this before. Like, what do you mean you've never tried this before?
Asian Pacific Islander food extends beyond just the corner Chinese takeout. Something beyond General Tso's chicken. There are other things, yes.
You're exactly right. What is this again? How do you say it? How you pronounce it? They try to, oh my God, this is wonderful. And it's just small things like that that people know you care.
Okay.
And I care to appreciate your differences. I care to listen to you. I care to see what you do and not be confronted by it or threatened by it. Let's just be together. We got to be here anyway. Let's just be together. So that's an example of just seeing something different and wanting to make a change for it. And the Admiral had no problem whatsoever with me jumping in and doing this stuff. And again, it made the organization more of a family type atmosphere. And I'm like, hey, that was a good idea. That was a good experiment.
Then did you, as a result of those kinds of activities, you found that people were, for lack of a better term, less offended or willing to have some of the hard conversations that allowed maybe some of the grease on the wheels?
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Because I can have a conversation with you and then we can walk away as friends and colleagues after it's all over and no one's got their feelings hurt because of what we discussed, or what challenges you may have faced, or what questions you may have had to answer. If you see people on in different perspectives, you get to appreciate the whole person. But if I just see you coming at me in one direction all the time, that's all that I can take from you, is that one direction. But if you're a complicated individual and I can see that complication, I appreciate your differences, appreciate what you bring. And sometimes we may not agree. That's fine. It's absolutely fine to not agree. But guess what? We're going to make a decision. We're going to move out. And not everybody has to be happy. Ken, I will tell you, since I retired, some of these companies that I'm affiliated with, I watch everyone needs to be happy at the end of the meeting before we close the meeting out. I'm like, what is this happy stuff? I never had to be happy at the end of the meeting. Is everybody happy? What? No, are we done? Do we reach a conclusion that we can now march off of? Happiness was never a thing for me. It was, let's get it done. But you don't have to hurt people's feelings in the process of getting it done. Is where my dichotomy breaks off. But this whole everybody group hug, everybody gets a trophy, I can't do that. I didn't grow up like that. Someone hung their head at the end of the day when you lost.
Wow.
But nowadays, I'm seeing a lot of everybody has to be happy. This group get it on and move together. I'm like, no, every now and then you need one stray that wanders off and does something that, hey, the rest of the herd, get over here, instead of where you were wandering off to aimlessly. So I worry about that. I worry about that herd mentality just kind of it's just meandering around. And I'm like, who's breaking out to go do something new, something novel? Who's asking the question?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
But certainly an encouragement then for those that are willing to be the one to break away. Absolutely. And to be able to ask the questions and go, well, why are we doing it this way? Or can we do it this way? And be that point of friction. Because in your experience, that is healthy for the organization and it'll drive move forward.
Right. And absolutely.
So to use that, I guess, analogy, it's if you don't have any friction and everyone is happy, then the wheel is just spinning and we're not making forward progress.
That's right. The wheel is just spinning. And I will tell you, working in the Pentagon, and typically you get these briefings where they put the stoplight charts in. And you see all of these green stoplight charts. Everything's green. I'm like, no, it can't be. It can't be all green. Because you know what? I thought we were doing something hard, complicated to defend and save lives. And that's hard. That's not all green. And I'm like, well, there's a little shade of yellow in this one if you really wanted to peel back the onion a little bit. I'm like, well, go back and do your stoplight chart again. Because share with me reality instead of, I just want to get through this meeting and be done with it. Let's show me that there's yellow and red on it. And where there's yellow and red, let's create some friction. Let's get it to green instead of everything's green.
Yeah.
Go away. Leave me alone. Don't bother me. So that's the herd. That's the herd meandering around. It's all green. All we see is green.
Yeah. Certainly the reds between organizations may be that, I didn't get the tech manuals done. That's my red, where over here it's lives are being lost. Okay. They're red for their respective programs, but
not all the same degree. Right.
Yeah. And we'll let leadership handle, you'll know the difference. So
absolutely.
Yes. And the weight that goes with those. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
So when I come back to now, or retired Admiral Sullivan, why did he invest in you and really went after this? Because he's invested so much over the years.
Sure. My original thought was that he wanted the office to himself because we shared an office. And if I wasn't there, he could have it. But in reality, even before meeting me, he taught up at MIT. So that teaching others, having people learn from you, and then take that knowledge and go on and do things for themselves. I was just the next student that came along. It
Okay.
just happened that I was his only subordinate at the time before he ultimately ran an organization of 80,000 plus people. He wanted to impart that knowledge. He had a desire to teach, and I was there. And I was a sponge. Everything he said, and the thing that he never really caught on to, I have a bit of a photographic memory. So every time I see something, I got it. And he would like draw the trim and drain system, pull that file out of my head. I would draw it on the board. He keeps doing it. He keeps satisfying what I keep asking for. So I frustrated the man to some degree that he couldn't stop me once he showed me how to do something. But I never let on that, hey, I could take a picture with my brain and regurgitate it back later. I was like his challenge case. And then he also wanted to see me do good. He rescued me from being fired. Now, let's get you to where you never have to be worried about fired again. You never have to be worried about getting fired again. It wasn't your fault, but now let's insulate you with all the things you need to be successful. Even after he retired, Ken, he went to go be the head of Penn State Applied Research Lab. And I called him up one day and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving government service. It's time for me to end my federal career and I want to go do something else. He said, come see me. I was like, come see me, sir? Are you in your State College, Pennsylvania office or in your Washington, D.C. office? He was like, no, I'm at State College. I was like, oh, okay. When you want me to come see me? Tomorrow. Okay. 6:30 in the morning. Yes, sir. 6:30 in the morning. He said, I'll be out in the parking lot waiting for you. I literally drove from my house in Maryland, old dark 30 at night. I pulled into the driveway to the parking lot where he was standing in my parking spot that I was supposed to park in at 6:30 in the morning. And then it became an all day, I walked around with him to see all that he was overseeing at Penn State Applied Research Lab, technical stuff over here, classified stuff over there. I'm running around with him the whole day. And about 3/4 of the way through the day, he said, so why did you come? I said, well, I wanted to talk to you about my next career move. He said, oh, no, you're not leaving. I was like, excuse me, sir? He said, you're not leaving. I was like, wait, what's the discussion? He said, there is no discussion. You're not leaving. And I was like, I literally drove all night to get here. And you got to know you're not leaving kind of response. He was like, yeah, you're not leaving. So let's go finish the tour. And we finished touring around everything. And then he dismissed me to drive back home.
It could have been a texter, just saying.
The very next day, you're going to be the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Expeditionary Programs and Logistics. He made phone calls before I even got there for Jimmy's trying to leave, so you better give him something else to do.
Wow.
And I was like, hey, did you have a hand in what? You got a new job? Really?
The universe just happened to shift for you? That's amazing. Wow. Exactly. What timing?
What timing? But he always had his hand, and I will tell you, from the time I started working for him in 92, he always had a hand in what I was doing next. He was talking about me when I wasn't around. Opportunities would pop up. Hey, I think Jimmy should do that. For me to be the construction manager for the Virginia Class Submarine Program, folks showed up in my cube when I was the test and evaluation manager, and they said, hey, tomorrow you're going to be the construction manager. I was like, wait, I'm the T&E manager. They said, no, you're going to be the construction manager tomorrow. I said, why? Sully said you're ready. Oh, okay. So I get a new office?
Any other perks other than responsibility? No.
Exactly. But he always was there as that advocate when I wasn't even aware of what he was doing. He never really told me what was next. It was just like someone else would. And then he'd be like, yeah, I did that. So just go do it. Okay. Make him proud.
Nice. So then how do you differentiate between coaching, mentoring, and advocating? I think you had a little bit of all of that in that example.
Sure. The mentoring is one of those things where you give of yourself to help guide someone into that opportunity or something more for them that you think they'll be good at. And coaching is a little bit more in depth where you're helping. Let me take a look at that thing that you're going to submit forward and put my fingerprints on it before you submit it. Like I will review people's resumes, ECQs. I do mock interviews for people, and it's not just me. I will go get myself and 3, 4 other people to do a mock interview with someone who I'm coaching, who I'm mentoring, if they say they're looking for an opportunity. And we'll give them hard questions like they're potentially going to get during the interview.
Yeah.
But that advocating, that's the real deal there. That's when you're not even conscious of what someone else is saying about you, and they're championing you to do something or be in a position. And again, they don't touch base with you. They're doing it because they know you're the right person for it. And I've had mentors like that all throughout my career where, hey, guess what you're going to be doing tomorrow? I'm like, what? Wait. Literally, Ken, started as a GS7. I only applied for 2 jobs my entire career.
Wow.
One was an SES job.
Wow.
So moved all the way from GS7, GS15 with someone saying, hey, tomorrow you're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. It was always puppet master somewhere behind the screen. And so I will tell you this funny story. At Sully's retirement ceremony, so many people came up to me with, hey, he's my mentor. Sully is my mentor. He's my mentor. He's my mentor. I went to his wife, Marie. I said, Marie, I found out Sully's been cheating on me. Marie said, Jim, what are we talking about? Your husband has been cheating on me. She was like, Jim, what are we talking about? I said, all of these people are walking up to me telling me how he's impacted their lives, and I thought I was the only one. I never knew about all these other people that he was out there doing very similar things for, none to the level he treated me, by the way.
Gotcha. Yep.
But doing similar things in their careers to help them get what they wanted by advocating for them, being a mentor, being a coach, wherever appropriately he's plugged in. And I walked up to him and I said, you've been cheating on me. And he was like, Jimmy, you've always been number one. And I was like, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to go sit down.
Usher in a little bit of humility here. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Even though you caught him red-handed. Okay, all right.
Caught him red-handed at his retirement ceremony. And I'm like, you know what? I need to shut up. Because no one said it was over. And he never said it was over, even though he was retiring. Literally text message, we shoot messages, call, whatever it is. Hey, I need you. All right, what's going on? Drop everything. So,
it's amazing.
But those, I've taken what he imparted upon me, and that's exactly how I treat others that come to me for career advice, help me with my resume, help me with my interview prep, get my ECQs written. I will literally give of myself to make someone's opportunity better. And I will tell people, if you're not using me for coaching or mentoring, I'm probably coaching your competition. And you're not going to get that job. So I told him, I don't sleep. I only put in about 3 hours of sleep a day. So when I'm not sleeping, I can be helping others do what they need done. Because I'm up anyway, Ken.
Okay.
And that's literally 7 days a week. And that's probably been for 22 years now.
Okay. Well, so how are you able to? I don't even have a category for that. I mean, because that breaks all the rules for all the other podcasts out there as far as all what humanity needs and such. What happened that you now are getting by and clearly you're high functioning and all the rest, right? So
I literally get a migraine headache if I put in more than 4 hours of sleep.
Really?
And I'm up anyway in pain if I try to continue to sleep. So I'm up. And I can get so much work done if I'm up. I can review that resume. I can get ready for that interview question. All of the stuff that you stack up over the course of the day, you can do it if you don't sleep. Now, I'm not advocating to your listeners.
Right.
Don't sleep. But I literally get a migraine headache if I sleep more than 4 hours. And the best thing about it, Ken, when I was traveling the world in all the various positions that I've had, I never get jet lag. I don't care where I go in the world. I need a nap somewhere over the course of a 24-hour period, and I'm good to go.
Wow. So I think the title of this episode becomes, apart from all the other great nuggets, wisdom, everything else, Jimmy Smith bends the space-time continuum. I'm going to go with that.
I just don't sleep. If the sun's up, I'm up.
Wow. That is amazing. At some point, you'll become a billionaire when you can bottle whatever that is in a little shot. I am not in that category. So, wow, that is just remarkable.
I don't put in much sleep. And from a differentiator standpoint, you're growing up, you're in competition with people for opportunities. You know what? While they're sleeping, I'm up prepping for the next thing I got to get done. How did you get this done? We just saw each other 6 hours ago. I didn't sleep much.
Wow. Well, okay. So back on the advocating piece. So what I also hear is a encouragement for doing it for others, but it's the willingness to do it, but also the actively looking for it.
Absolutely.
Right?
I always tell people there's a strategy for going after an opportunity. And one of the best things to do to kill your competition, hey, they've already picked me for this job. Someone start a rumor. And once that spreads around the organization, I'm not putting in. I heard it's already been picked for the job.
Wow.
So you have to get in people's heads if you're really going to separate yourself from everybody else. What's going to make me propel myself beyond others? And you know that one person to start a rumor with and watch it spread like wildfire through the organization. They told me I've already been picked. And it never gets attributed to some person said it. It just is told.
Yeah, this becomes the norm and the expectation.
So use the whole you if you really want to go after something. Now, I'm not saying sham your way into opportunities, but you better be ready to live up to what you're asking for if you're asking. And if you're not, okay, you may want to wave off, go get some more prep in, but do what's required. And I will tell you, for my first SES interview, I was given 3 mock interviews before I went in for the real interview. And these are all people that I looked up to that were existing SESs. They gave of their time to give me mock interviews to get me ready for the real thing. I mean, who does? And the first time I would have went in, I'm like, oh, these are the questions you're asking. You may want somebody else. But if I I wouldn't have been prepared for what they threw at me if I hadn't gone through the gauntlet with others to get there. And this is just people pouring out of themselves. We're ready for you to join the ranks, and we're going to help insulate you with this opportunity by getting you prepped. And all that's off the clock of their own time kind of giving. So I do the same thing. Still do it.
Mm-hmm.
Still do it.
So to the point of somebody coming up the ranks, you've provided lots of examples of things to proactively do. So obviously be smart, get the technical piece so that you are capable, prove all of that. But it's also, what are the other ways that you can prepare or get your name out there, and the rest within all the other elements that go into doing a job?
I would seek out rotational opportunities with people who were like in Sully's network of people that he was helping anyway. And hey, I would like to come over and do an assignment in your office for 6 months if you got room for me. Sure. And then, they're doing right by Sully by bringing somebody that Sully's already grooming up and to go work for them. Okay, now you got alignment. Now the family tree turns into a bush.
Gotcha.
That's really what the network was building. And I can tell you, out of all of the folks that, I call Sully that one that's out in front, out of all of the folks that he's touched, we all can be in a room with one another and know, all right, yeah, that one was touched by Sully. That one was touched by Sully. He touched me too. Yep, absolutely. I mean, and then all of us pull together with each other to help others. And then if you need something, just call me. I got you. And so it doesn't stop. The giving doesn't stop. The caring doesn't stop. And if you say you want something, let me help you give it. It's just, I kind of put him out in front of, and there was others before him that he learned from.
Yeah.
But he's kind of that one that's out in front in my looking at who's at the top of the bush.
Gotcha.
that grew limbs around him.
Okay. Now, I know that you've got a favorite acronym. Can you explain Talk Backwards?
Oh, absolutely. Talk Backwards is one that I picked up from a now retired Vice Admiral. And I was in his office and I brought it out. I said it to him and he was like, oh, you need to patent that. You need to just copyright that right now.
Nice.
But Talk Backwards is the word talk, and we're just going to use the acronym TALK, but we're going to go backwards. K, I have to know you. L, I have to like you. A, I have to give you access. And T, I have to trust you. With those four things in your repertoire, in your quiver, you can't go wrong in a relationship. I don't care what relationship it is. Could be spouse, could be work related. If you got those four things, that's what moves you ahead from a progression in your life standpoint. I got to know you. I got to like you. I got to give you access, and I got to trust you. And I would always tell folks, hey, you know what? I don't know Michael Jordan. I like Michael Jordan. He does not give me access. He does not trust me. I have no relationship with Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All
Fair
four
enough.
of these things have to hold together if you're really going to have a meaningful relationship with somebody. And know that you need to work on those four things with people every single day. Or when they show up in your world, make sure that they know they can trust you. If they tell you something, hey, I got something I need to tell you and I need you to hold it in confidence. Don't go spreading it 10 minutes after they told you. Guess what Mary's going through? Because now you just eroded my trust, because it's going to come back and it's going to come out that you leaked something that I told only you. So hold those four things true if you truly want to have a wonderful relationship with people. And don't compromise yourself, ever. Take this and give me that. No, I'm sorry. I can't compromise myself because I blow apart talking backwards if you compromise yourself. And then that person who got you to the point that you compromised yourself, now I can come back again and compromise you again. Because you've already shown me you're willing to be compromised once.
Yeah.
That just means that was the next time and the next time and the next time. So don't put yourself in a situation where folks compromise you because you allowed it to happen. But talk backwards. Know, like, access, and trust.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So for those folks, as you take that on, and myself included, so today is day one.
Yeah.
So if you've compromised in the past, that's in the past. So
chop it off.
Now we go forward.
Yep.
And now you build that integrity and just be intentional in your relationships.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a bit about your investment or vision regarding STEM. And I know HBCUs have a spot in your heart.
Sure.
What does your investment look like to date? And what are your thoughts going forward for these respective communities?
Great question, Ken. And I just had something come back in my life that I was touching 20 years ago, and I saw the rewards just 2 weekends ago. And I'll talk about that. But when I was at the Naval Sea Systems Command, I was the head of the HBCU minority scholarship program. And basically, I went around to all of the various program offices and PEOs, program executive offices, and basically collected up money for a scholarship fund. I would go to PEO aircraft carriers. Hey, I need money for the scholarship fund. They give me money. Teams up. And I would walk around with this cash in my hand. And then we had a program where with historically Black colleges and universities and minority serving institutions, and those are primarily Hispanic serving institutions, let's offer scholarships and internship opportunities. So we had Tuskegee, my alma mater, serving as the banker. It would send the money to Tuskegee. Tuskegee would send it out to all the other universities so that they can run their scholarship programs. And we would do 5 at this school, 6 at that school, 7 at that school, all STEM focused. Freshman year, you got a free ride, $10,000. If you wanted to continue to receive tuition assistance after your freshman year, you needed to come work for the Naval Sea Systems Command at any of the warfare centers or shipyards your freshman summer. And then, so now you're a government employee, freshman summer, working at a Navy activity somewhere around the country. We would fly the students there and fly them back from on travel standpoint.
Okay.
We had deals with colleges and universities in those local areas where these activities were. The dormitories got low attendance occupancy rates during the summer. So guess what? I need this intern living in the dorm at this university.
Nice.
And they can just catch the bus to the naval shipyard to go to work. We would pay them a GS-7 salary to work for the summer. And then every summer you could pick where you wanted to go to work anywhere inside the Naval Sea Systems enterprise. Wow. You could say, I want to go to Pearl Harbor one year. I want to go to Crane, Indiana the next year. You can pick and choose where you want to go. And your senior year, you kind of needed to home in on where you wanted to work permanently. Because they were going to pick you up after you graduated and then make you a permanent full-time employee there. That program saw over 120 students go through in about a 7-year period. Wow. And the amount of money we would spend would be somewhere between $5-6 million to go spread around to all these universities for their scholarships and all of that. And then summer internship. Admiral Benedict over at Strategic Systems Program said, hey, SSP wants in this program. And I was like, what you mean you want in? He was like, put me in for half. And I was like, you don't even know how much half is. He was like, put me in for half. And I was like, okay, give me the money.
Done.
Cha-ching, done. So they were an activity from the outside that came in, NAVAIR. So it populated itself all around the syscoms for Navy is what it ultimately did. And there's a master's program at Morgan State University, master's in engineering and cyber engineering. It's a 1-year master's program. The Navy pays for your salary while you're in the program. And it's a 1-year full tuition, books and everything else. Your job is to go get your master's. So that program's still up and running, ongoing. But making sure that people have the opportunity to get closer to us and to contribute to the Navy mission, that's what it's all about. And given that opportunity was what I was leading the effort for, and through the Office of Naval Research and various other commands across Navy, we made it quite successful. 2 weeks ago, I was up at the Urban Youth Racing School in Philadelphia. And this, I'm going to call him a kid back then, was 14 years old, racing go-karts. And at the Urban Youth Racing School, they no kidding take urban students, teach them how to understand engines, break them apart, put them back together again, racing, NASCAR, the whole 9 yards, pit crews, drivers. They teach this inner city Philadelphia. And it's just down the road from NSWC Philadelphia. So we partnered that school up with the engines program at NSWC Philadelphia. And these kids were doing a phenomenal thing. I watched a 15-year-old take apart a 4-cylinder engine and put it back together again in 15 minutes and turn it on, and it worked. And nothing flew apart.
Wow.
So, I mean, how many kids today have hands-on experience with motors and engines and
Amazing.
things of that nature? So that particular kid, it was actually two of them, but the one I'll talk about here, he was so involved in the program, and his parents were so supportive of him when they were at the Urban Youth Racing School. I said, hey, I want to make sure that this kid gets a scholarship to go to university when it's time for him to go. His dad grilled me for maybe 3 weeks straight. What's the catch? I was like, sir, you don't understand. I'm willing to pay for him to go to school, give him a job during the summer, and upon completion of the degree, he gets to keep his job. He's like, what's the catch? I don't understand. What's the
I
catch?
understand his perspective on this, and because there's got to be a catch somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but absolutely no catch whatsoever. And I saw that young man 2 weeks ago in Philadelphia. He came back to the Urban Youth Racing School for this open house that they were having. Me and my family went up to go see it. And Ernie is there, and he was like, without you, I would have never gone to college. Without you,
Wow.
I would not have had my time to work for the Navy. He's now working for the Defense Logistics Agency. He transferred over to DLA here recently. He said, I wouldn't have had the chance to do any of this stuff that I'm doing. And it's all because you invested an opportunity. You saw something in me, and look at what it's done. He said, I have a house. and trust me, his dad passed away early into his college career. But I kept up with this young man all throughout, making sure he was encouraged when he actually went to work for strategic systems programs when I was there. So it's like I got to watch him come just matriculate through, high school, college. Now he's here working for us. And just like Sully did for me when I saw him in Philadelphia 2 weeks ago, I said, the only thing you can do for me to pay me back is to give back to others that are coming behind you. And he told me stories of how he's helping people further pass along the opportunity to do things in their lives that they wouldn't otherwise have an opportunity to do. So that's why you do it. It's not to grow technical people, and because I love technical people more than, those that are not technical. I want people to get the opportunity to move ahead and realize dreams that they didn't even know they had, or they were even possible to conceive. And now they're off doing things that they would have never had the opportunity. And that's the reward. That's why you do it. And I don't need to hear the stories to know that I've done well. But when you hear them, you get that gratification of, oh, this is outstanding. I'm glad this turned out well. But no, it was grounded in my heart's in the right place to push it forward. It will reap results. And I don't care if I don't see them, but let that go multiply. Now, while we were at the Urban Youth Racing School, me and my family, and we went up unannounced, we didn't get on the agenda for the program that was being conducted at the open house they were doing. The other young man that we gave a scholarship to, he said, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a man named Jimmy Smith. And the guy running the program, Anthony Martin, said, well, Jimmy's here today. He was like, he's here? Yeah, he's sitting right there on the third row. And I raised my hand, and he said, Mr. Smith, I've never met you before, but you're the reason. And he's an author now. All of this great stuff. And it felt good because my wife and my youngest daughter were there with me, and totally unplanned, unscripted.
Yeah.
This young man starts talking about how I was able to help him get something, and he's maximized that opportunity. And my daughter's looking at me like, yeah, my dad's pretty cool. That's all my 14-year-old, 15-year-old, that's all you can hope for right there.
That in itself is remarkable. Yes.
So, is that reward is great. And after the session closed down, we talked one-on-one and everything. I'm like, what are you doing now? What are you doing to give back? So that still asking questions. What are you doing? What are you doing now? You're not just sitting on your laurels. He said, no, I've got a book now. I'm an author. It's coming out on Amazon. He said, I can go out to the car and get one for you. I said, no, I can buy it. Let me buy it. You're not
absolutely
giving free stuff away. Let me buy it. So help them do more with what they have is what it's all about. And I don't, like I said, put your heart in it for the right reasons. It should never go wrong if that's the case.
Mm. That is beautiful. So let's put a pin in that and move towards wrapping up. Thank you for all that you've walked through and examples. So do you have any other thoughts or encouragements about questions that we haven't touched on? Anything come to mind?
The only thing that I would add to your listeners here is give people a chance to impress you, and do it from a selfless viewpoint. Don't want anything out of it. Just give. If someone says I need, just give. That's all that I would hope to pass along to anyone is we're not in competition with each other. We're all here trying to survive and make our own way. But if you can help somebody else, do it. And don't look back or don't have any regrets for helping others. And I don't care what they look like compared to you, your family, just help folks. Help folks get what they need to be successful. So that's it, Ken.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for that encouragement. Where is the best place for folks to reach out, to engage, learn more about what you're excited about?
Anyone can absolutely email me at jsmith@smithadvisoryconsulting.com. And just like when I was working for the Navy, if you send me a note within 24 hours of you sending it to me, you're getting a response back.
Amazing.
So that's the best way to reach me, to get a hold of me. If you're looking for any advice, career advice, any help, assistance, send that to me that way.
Wonderful. Jimmy, thank you for sharing your insights into leadership questions and specifically caring for people in all the different ways that you provided examples. You have encouraged us to expect more from the mundane and to use questions in refreshing ways to engage the world. Thank you for being a part of the Curated Questions family.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate the invitation to be here. And let's not, lose touch.
Absolutely.
Invite me back anytime.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I'm grateful for those who have joined us on the other side of the speakers. Thank you for being here. Jimmy offered perspective and ideas that are applicable to how we engage the world around us. Now it's our opportunity to apply this inspiration to improve our corner of the world. Please take all that you have learned here and be a light to yourself and to those around you. Gratitude shout out to Beauty Pill for the show's music and producer Ben Ford for the technical help. This episode was recorded on Piscataway land. Please engage with this episode in some manner. Download, follow, save, like, share, or comment about something that resonated. This simple act will ensure we are all engaging the questioning community. Until next time, keep questioning.